believe it was more than 2 decades ago that two rising stars of the World Rally Championship met for the first time. Kris Meeke, he was Colin McRae's protege and the son of one of Britain's most prominent rally car preparation experts in Sidney Meeke. And Dani Sordo, well, he was talked about at the time as perhaps Spain's rallying successor to 2 times world champion Carlos Sainz. And for the next 20 years, the careers and the stories of Dani Sordo and Kris Meeke would be intertwined. They fought for the Junior World Rally Championship as Citroën teammates before going their separate ways, only to be reunited in a pair of ProDrive Minis. While neither lifted the ultimate prize, both won rounds of the World Rally Championship. Now, they're battling again in the Portuguese Championship. And now as then, they're the best of friends, as well as the fiercest of rivals. Dirtfish brought them together and asked them to tell us their stories. Let's take you back. I think it must be 25 years. Nearly 25 years since you met.
Well, 2004, Catalonia regroup after the first loop. I was the first ever rally in a C2. You remember the McRae Motorsport one? And this guy turns up in a Citroën España C2, and I looked at the times, and he come into the regroup. I remember looking around, I said, who's this child? And it was the first time I ever seen Dani or met him was Catalonia 2004.
Yeah, I think.
So it's 22 years ago.
Do you remember that, Dani?
This moment exactly, no, but I remember the Catalonia. Okay, yeah, I remember Kris from before, but when we started to work together in 2005, I remember a lot because we started to have a good time together. And at this time, I didn't speak a lot English, and I remember in Greece, 2005, yes. We were in the bar of the pool talking a lot. And Kris, he started to say, hey, but you improve a lot now. And I was with him a lot of time and talking. It's the place, like, it's the rally that you put your recce car in the pool, no? Oh, which rally was this one?
Turkey.
Turkey.
Tell us about that.
With a little Suzuki Jimny recce car. And in the evening after we come out of the restaurant, it was like, I think it was late after summer, and there was a public swimming pool which they had drained, and Chris Patterson was co-driving for me, and he bet me €50 that I couldn't get the Suzuki Jimny into the swimming pool. So I went down the steps into the swimming pool, reversed round, and went to come up out, but there was the steps and there was a leaf spring suspension on the Suzuki Jimny, and the leaf springs just got caught in the steps and boom, put me back into the pool. So we had to take a run at it, and probably to this day there's 2 little tracks in the steps up out of the swimming pool where the Suzuki Jimny took it. That was, I'll not name the rental car company, but anyway, that was the antics back then.
Well, what were your first impressions then, Dani? When you saw this young Irishman doing things like that, what did you think?
No, but of course it was like a special, and also like he came from Colin side, so he was a little bit like a little copy of Colin in all, So of course he was really fast, and he is really fast, and for me he was one of the fastest guys ever in the championship. Even if he didn't have this luck to be in the Rally 1 or World Rally Car for a long time, I think everybody knows why, because sometimes they disconnect his mind and bam. But he was, my first impression was he was a hard teammate, in every surface. Because in tarmac he was also really fast, because I said, okay, in gravel I don't have experience, but he was really fast also in tarmac. So it was hard, but we have a really good relation all the time. So
it is interesting, isn't it? Because you're very, very different, the two of you. Very different in terms of your driving styles, your careers, but you do seem to have become fabulous mates. Do you remember when you first became friends and thought, he's going to be a good friend of mine?
Teammates in 2005. Some of the stories we probably shouldn't tell.
Oh, go on.
No, some of them you can't. But like, the relationship started then, and in 2005, I flew from Ireland to stay with his family in Santander. We went to the karting, we had good food with his father. His father's even more crazy than Dani.
Yeah, my father's like
His father's probably like me.
Yeah.
He's like, and so his mother and father, the whole family. Honestly, when you meet somebody with similar family values and they know the life like that and how to have fun, when we both end up going to live in Andorra, 2016 I moved to Andorra and I was doing all the papers and everything, and I looked on my phone, I seen Dani post a picture of him in Andorra, and I texted him, I said, "What are you doing there?" He said, "I moved here 1 month ago." And now we live this last 10 years 400 meters from each other, so it's it's a crazy story how the life goes like this. And we found ourselves teammates Citroen Junior World Rally team, then we were teammates in the Mini WRC, then I arrived to Citroen WRC team in 2013 while he was still in the team, so it's 3 teams. Then he went Hyundai, and now we're back teammates under the same umbrella of Catano, Portugal. But how life works like this, and we live 400 meters apart, and okay, we don't spend every day together, but it's strange how life works like this. But we're just, yes, we're completely different characters behind the wheel, but to have fun in the life and everything after, we're probably very similar.
You meet people in life, don't you, Dani? And you just know when you first meet them, they're good people. They're people I want to be friends with. And then you meet people like Kris.
No, but the good thing is also we have many situations like in the teams. Okay, like you say, in the real life we meet sometimes, but we are not every day. Hey, what you doing? But it's curious. Like in the real life, our career was a little bit parallel with the teams, and also like because I remember I was in Citroen and I was not really good performance at one point, and Kris take my seat, in Finland, I think. And I was not like even sad, I was happy for him, and because the good thing is like we never have like, also like for him when I was in the junior.
Germany, 2006.
Yeah, in Germany.
With the alternator belt.
Yeah, if I take this, maybe they take me out the championship.
Anyway, there was
It's 20 years ago.
I know it's okay.
It's 20. I don't think it's illegal, but we were in a big battle, Junior World Championship, 2005 Rally Germany. Last morning, it was really close. I think it was 8 seconds, and I take 5 off Dani in the first stage, down to 3. Yves Maton was the team boss of the junior team at that time. He called me, "Kris, whoa, calm." But then Dani had some trouble with his alternator belt, and he used the spare alternator belt, and it went. And while we were in the fight with only seconds, I drove past and threw my alternator belt out the window.
Yeah, it was nice.
So
I will never.
He went on, and I, second last stage, still pushing for the win. There was a big bale in a town, and I hugged the bale, but at the bottom the curbstone was just sticking out, and I nicked the wheel and got a puncture. But Dani won. So, but things like that, it's not about. We do it on the stages, and there was never, even though, like Dani says, I maybe took his seat at Citroen 2013-14, but there was never any. Even when we're fighting,
Isn't that incredible? Because you're talking about that season in 2005, 2006. The prize at the end of that year was enormous. The prize was to sit alongside Sebastian Loeb in the team. So you'd imagine from the outside that the two of you would have been battering each other, but that was never the case.
No. Well, I think in rally you don't necessarily get that, because it's not like you're on a track racing together, and if someone put you off, you can get angry with the other guy. In a rally, you have the road yourself, and it's up to you to do the job. And sometimes I failed, and Dani done a better job that year, and he got the drive with Loeb, and I went back home and worked in a rally school for a few years and didn't drive a rally car. So, but that was my responsibility and my mistake. So it's nothing to do with Dani.
And did you stay in touch with him in those years?
We have in touch. Like we say, we are not all the time talking. But yeah, he's always happy when I do something well, and he sends messages, and for me also, for him, I'm really happy when he get a program, or when he get a car like he deserves, because I think it's a type of person like the people love to see in the interviews, the people love to see the style of drive, because it's aggressive, it's nice, and everybody likes to see Kris Meeke is coming, because you wait for something,
It's like my favourite driver now to watch in the World Championships, Taka. His speed's incredible, his passion's incredible, but you never know what's going to happen. I admire Sebastian Ogier, he's incredible, and Loeb, but at one point it get boring because they're so bloody good. But for the neutral spectator to watch somebody that you never know what's going to happen, that's part of the excitement. But it wasn't my intention to be like that, but some people are like that. You know?
So, obviously, 2006, as you say, was the Citroen Juniors, and Dani then got the seat in the World Rally team with Loeb. The next time you came together was ProDrive. Yes. Tell us about that. Tell us about, you know, when you realised, Dani, that ProDrive wanted you and that Kris was going to be your teammate. Tell us a little bit about that time and those discussions and the atmosphere there.
Yeah, it was nice, nice history also. Maybe a little bit better for me than for Kris, but it was nice project together. I think at the beginning it was looking really nice project with ProDrive and the car. It was a little bit difficult at the beginning because when you come from Citroen, the car was built in really nice and all. ProDrive it was nice car, but it was all like new, you know.
They were
like,
learning to come back to the championship.
Learning things and all, but the car was still performing because first race in Sardinia we were not bad, and with Kris and all it was funny. Some years after to be there in the same time and all, it was nice.
Yeah, but for me it was bittersweet because David Richards sold the world to everybody and had nothing behind it, nothing to back it up. But finally, it wasn't a factory program. I had a 3-year contract, and we done 6 rallies. And
was it 6 rallies? Just 6 rallies,
and it lasted, and that was a factory team done. So actually, the program was never there in the first place. He was putting the cart before the horse and trying to sell it to everybody. So, yeah, that left a bad taste in my mouth. You know, I got a bit off with the sport then, but it's life. That's what happened. You know. I always said I came out of winning the IRC at that time, and that's what got me the drive in Mini. Even though it was only 6 rallies, it got me that transition from being a regional championship driver to a world championship driver in a factory team. So you made that step. So then you were on the markets, people saying you had already been in the world championship. So that's why it made it easier maybe for Yves Maton to call me in 2013. You know, but so it still helped my career in some respects.
The one thing I really remember about the Mini was Rally Catalunya and the power stage. Oh, yeah. Because, you know, everyone thought, and rightly so, that maybe, Dani, this was your chance to win stages in the Mini. And then it came to the power stage, and Kris put in the most incredible performance.
It was close also.
It was only 0.3, but in the Rio de Cañas, but we only used the first part to the roundabout. But our positions were quite secure that morning. I don't know where we were, 5th and 6th or 4th and 6th or something, with big gaps. So we had a chance of some small rain for the power stage, and we put on the soft tyre, and we sacrificed the stages before. And I remember putting on the helmet, and the rain started to come for the power stage, and I was, come on, rain. And we had a short stage, a nice one, but yeah, it was so nice, just 0.3 between us. And here we are. What's that, 15, 16 years later, we've just finished Shakedown Rally Portugal, and we set identical time to the same tent. So, same different bucket.
And also in the last rally, when you see the times, we pushed like hell both, and bam, it's like 1 second, 2 seconds.
Amarante.
Yeah. We finished one loop of 3 stages. I think it was 4 tenths different, you know, after 4 stages.
Yeah, well,
Amarante 1/10 in the first stage, bam.
Yeah.
So how is that possible? Because you are such different drivers. How is that possible in different cars?
We are, and it's like Dani said, you know, I come from maybe the Colin McRae stable, where a bit more wild, but actually my driving style's probably more clean, whereas Dani's probably more aggressive behind the wheel, but it works for him. So actually the driving styles are different because even the test for here, the young Spanish kid, Diego Ruiloba, sat in with both me and him, and he said the styles are completely different. And on the test, I think there was 0.2 between us on a 5k test stage, you know, so it's strange, different cars, different styles, and still the times are like this. So it's
but the guys in ProDrive, they say already before, I was like more, Yeah. I think sometimes I don't know when, for me, I don't know if it's related with if I don't know the road, but for me it makes a little bit more confidence to put the car a little bit sideways at the beginning of the corner, and then, you know.
Whereas I went in, maybe I trust the front a bit more. But when it doesn't work, then Whereas Dani always has that protection
No.
of the car already turned, whereas I go in trusting the front a bit more.
Yeah.
When it works, it's good, but sometimes maybe if it doesn't work, it's...
I always say, Dani, you were a confidence driver, and you were absolutely the fastest in the world if you were confident, if everything was as you liked it. You know, so if the road, you knew the road, the weather conditions were stable, you were the fastest.
Yeah, in some type of surface, if I know,
Portugal,
I
Sardinia,
But
Greece.
you're completely opposite. You'll just, whatever is thrown at you, you
Yeah,
just go for it.
yeah, but sometimes I try to override my... If the feeling's there or not, I still want to make it, you know, rather than accepting the feelings. So, anyway, I think with age you get maybe a bit more calm, and here we are.
it's normal.
22 years we've established. What do you really like about him most?
It's funny, we're just chatting about it this morning. So for here, when we're out for team dinner, because we're under the same umbrella, so we all, through the Portuguese Championship, we go to really good restaurants. It's nice. We're a bit more relaxed than WRC. But when we're at dinner and there's conversation happening and something comes up, he just look at me and I look at him, and we know exactly what we're thinking. Both good things and bad things, but we know exactly what's thinking behind it. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like I say, we come from probably similar family backgrounds and similar values, and we appreciate the same things in life. Albeit now I'm married with a family, and I have my family, and I concentrate on that when I'm at home. Whereas Dani's still able to go and do his own thing, and you know, so like I say, we don't spend, we go months without seeing each other, you know, but we live quite near. But still, anytime we meet, it's immediately back to base, and that's when you know someone's, you know, true friend. You know?
Yeah, that kind of comfort together is always good, isn't
A
it?
bit like you and me, Colin.
We've had our moments, Kris. Can you see through that windscreen? Oh, let's not go there. Dani, same question to you about Kris. What is it that you would say is most attractive about Kris, other than his looks, obviously? What is it you like about him? What is it that you like
for
most?
sure. It's like for me, it's like a person like it's like it is, you know, and this is nice. And now in this sport, it's difficult. Everybody are really in his own place, and we are not natural. You can have a rival, but you can respect the person. I think it's very important to say, okay, Kris, congratulations, you are faster, and accept also the sometimes like other is faster or other is better, no? And with Kris, like he said, we have a lot of connection in many things, but I appreciate, like, okay, when we put the helmet and we know if now in this rally everybody have his job, everybody have watch his videos to beat the other and to beat the other person. They are already concentrated in our job, because it's normal and you can feel the minds of the others. But if you go to dinner, you can talk and it's nice, and you can spend some time, and you can go in the moto to make a lap together, take a coffee, and natural, you know, not like it's difficult to have some friends in rally or some normal person, like they call you or they send messages like natural, like a normal friend, because it's difficult now. The people are all like the personalities and all is quite difficult in the rally to have like a person like he respect you or he treat you like a normal person, you know.
Yeah, that's very true. So we'll go back again, boys. I know we're going backwards and forwards, but we'll go back. And we'll go back to that time when you were at Citroen Juniors together. With all, Kris, your enormous experience, your worldly experience that you now have, if you were to have a word of advice for a young Dani Sordo in 2005, what would you say to Dani, looking back with hindsight? What advice might you have given to Dani then?
Well, he didn't need advice then. He beat me and he got the factory drive alongside Loeb, and he's probably got the third on record of most podiums. So he needed no advice. He went on and done an incredible career. I was the one probably needed more advice back then, but yeah, honestly, for me, Dani had the path I wanted to have, but yeah, I wasn't able to do it at that time. Yeah.
What advice would you have given Kris? Looking back, Dani, if you could go back to 2005, what would you say to him too?
I don't know. For me, Kris was, like I say, I respect a lot the fast drivers, and for me it's like OG or Loeb or whatever. if they are fast, you need to admit. Like, you will never say, hey, I'm fast. I know Kris is in many places is faster than me, and he was like a super, really good driver. But he have this, like, he disconnects sometimes, and he say, okay, I go there and I go. And sometimes I think he was his style, but at the same time he pay the bad way of his career, because for sure it's not the speed, it's the small mistakes he make. No, I will not say all the time, but many times, like, they cut him a little bit the way, you know.
How does that make you feel when you hear that, Kris?
It's the truth, but that's what we was talking about before. You know, we just talk it how it is. We don't try and create a story around it, and I don't make any excuses. And you know, it's like some people are like that. You know, if everybody was like an OJ or a Loeb, it would be a very boring world. We're all here trying to do our best. People are built differently. It's how you're brought up from a child and all the emotions you take with you throughout life. And when you arrive behind the wheel, sometimes my emotion took over. So my emotion probably wasn't cool enough and calm enough to sustain my speed. And it's, you know, I always said, you can destroy a car by being 2 centimeters off the line. Once you start to slide wide, you're not the boss of what happens. And wherever it happened to me, it seemed to happen in the wrong place. And wow, people say, oh, you destroyed the car. It don't matter. 2 centimeters was the difference. But I couldn't control my speed at that time. And, you know, throughout my career, then when I arrived to the WRC, when I got my chance at Citroën 2013, I was already 35 years of age, 34, 35. So at that time, you know your window's short. But not a lot of people know my first contract with Citroën in 2014 was, the season was 13 rallies. They gave me a contract only for 10 and said I had to get 3 podiums in my first 6 rallies to get the last 3. And then they asked me why I push with no experience. But you take even Cali Rovanpera didn't get 3 podiums in his first 6 rallies. But that was in my contract, and the pressure was on from the get-go. So, coupled with my type of person, and as Dani said, like, I always push. When you put that in the contract on your first ever factory contract, naturally it comes to push, you know. And I always felt, because I missed that gap of transition into the World Championship earlier, when I arrived in and 35 years of age, it's sink or swim. You don't have time. Like Neuville or Elffin's only 35 now with 12 years behind them, you know. So what would happen if those guys arrived in the championship now at 35 with a short window? So my career was always different, and you know, but I've had a mega time and really happy with my life. We earned some money, we had good times, we have travelled the world. So I wouldn't change a thing. Yes, things could have went differently, but we're here and we're still having fun.
You're still having fun. That's so important, isn't it? But looking back, Dani, at the past 20 odd years, and your career, and Kris has been very much entwined in that career. Any regrets?
Of my career?
Any regret? Just looking back and if you know.
No, but I want to go back to Kris' personality and back but it's like this in normal life also, because you take the boogies one day. Okay, we go to the mountains. Okay, we go to make a lap. Kris, flat out, puncher, wheel out, and this and that. It's like the last time he called me to go in moto. I put a picture with the moto.
We have two. We have a Ducati, exactly the same.
Yeah.
He has one, I have one. So he called me, he said, come, we go into the mountains in Andorra, we go off for 2-hour loop.
He called me and I put a picture. I went to the gym with the moto, I put a picture, and he said, okay, hey, we need to go a lap for one day. You know. I say, when? I say, today. I say, okay. It was 1 p.m. He said, okay, but when? I say, now I will go to it. Okay, 15 minutes. I take food, 15 minutes. We need to make a small lap and all. Like, I say, okay, we make a small lap. We take coffee here and here. No, we go to Tor. He said, Tor. He said, 1 hour. And he 85 kilometers. I need to be here at 3:30 to take my kids in the school. I said, yeah, but we don't have time. So it's all like a stream, you know.
And we have identical bikes. And of course, when we got 85 k's away to the small town, we take a coffee and turn around to come back. He said, you want to ride my bike? I said, it's the same. But when I get on, here's the factory racing exhaust pipe and the quick shifter. I don't,
He take a whoa.
I said, wow. So that little 2-hour run out in the motorbike cost me €1,000 because as soon as I got home, I ordered the racing pipe and the quick shifter. And I just got an email this morning, my quick shifters arrived at home, so next week,
but you can see his face when they take my bike in the petrol station. I say, okay, we swap the bike. He put the started engine, boom, boom. Wow! You can feel like a kid, you know. But these moments are nice. It's nice to enjoy life, and like you say, we have, at least for me, it's like Pablo. He say, today he sent me a message. I will still pushing for you for one race of Rally 1. I say, babe, Pablo, if it's okay, it's okay. If not, I don't care. I care for sure, but it's not the end of the world. I did a lot.
Is that the same for you, Kris? Are you in a position where if it happens, something happens?
It's not going to happen for me. I'm 40, 45 and 46 in a month or so, but for sure, if someone called me and say, we want you to do one rally in a Rally 1, I'll go. But 99% chance is not going to happen, and I've had a career, I've done it. I'm very lucky still to be in this environment with like a regional Portuguese Championship factory team, and the importer here really support the program really well. So we're still happy we can drive in a good environment, you know. So honestly, yes, I'd love it, but okay, if it happened, it happened.
You know, this Portuguese Championship escapade that you're on just now looks like a lot of fun. And the Portuguese Championship is incredible. I mean, can you see that expanding? Can you see other drivers coming in, joining you maybe next year there? Is it something you talk to the guys in the service park about?
Well, my situation, well, how I arrived in the Portuguese Championship was obviously, it was Craig Breen's drive. Unfortunately, after Craig's accident, it was a very emotional time for everyone. And even at Craig's funeral, Zé Pedro was there, and the team boss, and he mentioned to me, I'll call you in a few days. He called me, and the next rally was in 2 weeks. And I said, well, I think it's too soon to be, too much emotion to go and sit in the car of Craig, and he wanted to do a special livery as a tribute. So I said, look, I have to call Craig's father, Ray, and I personally, I didn't know it was the right thing to do, and I hadn't been in a rally car at that time in over 2 years, 2.5 years. Yes, I'd done all the test work with Skoda, but the competition is different. So, and finally, I spoke with Ray, and we said, yeah, look, the show must go on, and we'll do it as a tribute to Craig. And Craig was really, really good friends with Zé Pedro. So the last rally we done here 2 weeks ago, it was that rally 2 years ago that I started, and we managed to win the rally in the tribute livery to Craig. And yeah, honestly, you never lose that buzz of behind the wheel in competition. Testing doesn't replicate it, and I just loved it. I'm like a one-trick pony. There's only one thing I sort of know half how to do well, and with the experience you have now, you can bring it to a smaller team like this and help them improve. But all credit to Zé Pedro Fontes, because he has a very good relation with the Catano group. It's a huge company here in Portugal, have all the car marks, and they support the Hyundai program, they support the Toyota program. And now with Dani in, it's we talked earlier about the swapping of times, but the atmosphere and the quality of the rallies. You know, every gravel rally we do, we have 4 gravel rallies. All of them are current or ex-WRC stages. We have an incredible tarmac rally in Madeira, and 3 other tarmac rallies. So for me, you have Italian tarmac championship, which is really top, but that's only tarmac. In France, you have a top one, it's only tarmac. UK, the championship's not really at the top level anymore. For me, here's probably the best national championship in the world. That's personally speaking. So
you seem to be almost joined at the hip, but you're not, clearly. Your careers have taken different paths. But if I look to the future, you've done Dakar, Kris. It seems to be that, you know, that W2RC, the off-road racing, is getting more and more popular, more and more manufacturers. Dani, is that something that you've looked at, Dakar and W2RC, and thought, yeah, I'd like a go at that?
Yeah,
Can you
Dakar, why not? I think we need to at least try, but I don't know if I like this.
we done one cross-country event in Qatar together.
Qatar with Nasser together.
In two Nasser.
And we have a
buggies.
fight also in the States, you remember? In the
Yeah,
States together.
and in the States, okay, you set off 2-minute intervals, but in that sport,
I lost
a 2-minute gap.
somewhere.
A 2-minute gap is like 2 seconds in rally. So he got a puncture. He stopped to change, and I caught him, and we were going through the desert together. And I said, "Here we go again in the desert." Well, it was good fun, but yeah, like Dani said, why not in the future? It's really building momentum now, and I've done 2 Dakars. It's incredible. It's an incredible.
Well, how much you finish? How many you finish?
One. I have 1 finisher's medal.
You imagine Kris in Dakar.
Yeah, but
Oh, I saw him. I saw you at your best at Dakar.
yeah.
I saw you at your best.
Why?
Because you know you've got a great brain, and that's something you've always had, a fantastically strategic brain. You've got a mad streak in you, and we all know that. But Dakar allows you to use your brain more, and the strategic driving I saw.
Dani
from
be very good at it as well. I know because
exactly.
I grew up and I really enjoy enduro bikes, and like I went to do the Baja 1000 in Mexico, an Ironman at 42 hours non-stop on a motorbike through the Baja Peninsula.
But he like this kind of
I
crazy things.
I really love this, but Dakar is like this, but for 2 full weeks. You lose complete sense of what day of the week it is, and this type of thing when you come. Some moments are hard, but it's only like the week after you look back and you go, wow, that was special. It is, and with David Castera now at the wheel of Dakar, introducing these marathon stages, and you just park up and you get the survival pack, and you light a little fire in the middle of nowhere in the desert. That's special. And but let's see. I don't know in the future. The problem in Dakar is you have 2 or 3 guys with factory cars, Sainz, Loeb, Nasser. But after, you have guys who pay to do the Dakar, and they've many experience, so it's difficult to enter at the right level.
But here's an interesting thing, Dani. You know, Sebastian Loeb, with all the success he enjoyed in the WRC, he doesn't seem to have gelled with cross-country rallying in the same way. He's had more roles in Dakar than he ever had in WRC.
Yeah, it's
why is that? Why do you think that might be?
I don't know. It's completely different, but it's more adventure. You need to know. You need to learn the desert, and it's nothing to see.
I've done 2 Dakars, so I know. A WRC driver, their whole life has been about commitment
Precision,
to the pace note. To you make a pace note in the recce, and that's a big difference between, you know, a driver who's fast after 10 runs on the test, but who can do it the first time to their pace note. And here you make a flat out corner over a crest, and especially a place like Finland. When you get it right, that buzz you get is just the best. You can't explain it to anybody. Yeah. But in Dakar, the road book will say, you come into dunes and the road book will say, caution 2 drops for 5k. And in the desert, every time you come to a crest, you don't know. And the first time I arrived, my co-driver is really experienced. He said, Kris, slow down for everyone. They mightn't all be a drop. So I went and, it's flat. I could have been flat, and you get frustrated. And the next one I brake, and I said, I should have been flat. I should have been flat. I've lost time. That's the rally driver mentality. And the next one, he said, right,
flat
I'm
out.
going. Whoa. And that's Dakar, and it's no different for
That's
Loeb.
Kris Meeke.
No.
First one,
No, but it's no different than Loeb. Loeb now.
Loeb maybe break. He break in 1, in 2.
No, but he's many accidents in Dakar. And Carlos Sainz, it took him 8 years to win Dakar, 7 or 8 years to win Dakar. He's still having many accidents. And it's the guys who grew up in the desert, like Nasser, like Yazid. Their eyes are tuned to the desert. Like Stefan Petter Hansel, he done 30 Dakars. He won it in a motorbike. Their eyes are tuned to the terrain, so you drive with your eyes, not the information. And we are too used to having to commit 100% everything. So to tune that back and still read the desert, that's the difficulty for a rally driver. Like when Colin McRae went to the Dakar, it wasn't a success either. So so no matter who you are, the greatest rally driver of all time, Sebastian Loeb, still struggles a bit with Dakar. So, but the adventure side of it and the discipline of it is incredible.
And the fun. It is actually a lot of fun, isn't it? And it's just the atmosphere around the bivouacs is great. Boys, we've taken up an awful lot of your time today, and we very much appreciate it. One last question: who's going to win this weekend? Dani, Kris? No, from between the two of you.
For sure, it will be fight. And
but you see, when you look at the road book here and you're sitting at the start of the season, you see stage record Dani Sordo. This guy knows the stages very well, and he
Hey, you
pushed
put all the
like-
time. This is for sure all the time excuses. Beaky. No, but I will not say you have better car.
Yeah, well, my car is very, very good. So.
So, will you watch the times of the Portuguese Championship drivers, or will you be looking at the WRC2 Championship? What will you?
No,
To be honest, we said in the last rally, we have to give everything we have to beat each other.
Yeah.
So when we give everything you have, there's nothing left, and if the other WRC2 guys are faster, what can we do? So to be honest, we'll be full attack from the get-go and see what happens.
I can't wait, boys. It is always a joy talking to both of you individually. Talking to you together has been a privilege. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Lovely stuff. Thanks, lads.